So hi and welcome, or welcome back if you've been here before. So my last video was an unboxing and a swatching thing of the course box that I got from Craftimo, the Craftimo collab with Sarah Burns. And these were the colors, the gouache colors I got. I did mention in the video that the yellow is, the pigment in here is PY3, which I don't like very much because it's often not the most light fast color, and it turns out I'm actually right. I didn't look too much at the things, I was just busy getting to the swatching part. And it turns out, yeah, it has 2 stars, and like the quinacridone red is a 4-star. I haven't looked too closely at the star system for Shinhan's colors, but 2 is definitely not good when there's other colors that has 4. So I did use this for the course painting, and I've decided not to show you because it's pretty much a master study of Sarah Burns' work, so it's not really mine as such. So, and when at the course, I decided I got a Winsor and Newton big tube of white, and I've had this for years. It's good still, but it smells a little funky, so I'm worried that this is actually going bad. So this is the white I'm using. It's not because it's better than any other white, it is just a white tube of white I need to use up. So I actually today is putting away the white and the yellow. I got that yellow on my palette still here, and it's cracked because it dried, but it's okay, we can give it a spritz of water. There's also some blue and here's some red and stuff, so we got plenty of paint to work with today. Just give it a chance to reactivate. And I know my palette is a mess, but that's how I like it. So yeah, so I put that away. If we need more yellow on stuff, I picked out some other colors, so we will have to swatch a little bit. I also got a Winsor and Newton primary yellow, and that's different pigments in here. That is a PY74 and PY138. I actually think PY74 is also another Hansa yellow. There's so many Hansa yellows. Hansa yellow PY1 and PY3 are, but the PY1 don't use it ever. That's very fugitive. The 3 depends apparently on who has produced the pigment, and it's a little iffy. I prefer to try and avoid it because I do like to be able to display my art. Today I am working actually in a sketchbook. We'll get to that. So that's a little less important. You can use fugitive colors in a sketchbook. But if you want display or even sell your art, I don't think PY3 is a good choice. And then, because this is ultramarine and that is quinacridone red, and they're both red leaning, I picked out the primary red from Winsor and Newton. Again, this is a tube of paint I need to use up. Plus, this is more blue leaning. It's primary red. It's a magenta. And I thought that could help make this a split primary palette. Maybe it would be easier. I had a hard time getting something to look kind of black because it more turned purple. And I also picked out a black just because to make things easier. I can't guarantee we will need these 3. I'm just showing the white because that's the white that is actually on the palette. Yeah, I guess I should take them out because now I introduced them, and let's see what they do to the palette actually. So need to find a place for the red. Yeah, this is getting a little gunky in the tube, so it's a good thing to use it. The yellow I'm not gonna do anything about because it's very close to that yellow in color, so, and I doubt we get to that, but if you see me paint on for the next little while until the next box comes, this is likely the yellow I will use. And stick some black over here. Good. So it is Quinacridone Red, Ultramarine Deep from Shinhan, and the rest is from Winsor and Newton. I bought a package of primaries of Winsor and Newton gouache a long time ago, and that's some of the colors, and then I bought the extra white. So here's the primary red. I guess I can get it without getting too much of what is underneath. It's a very pink color, and it's actually quite transparent, even when I try to build it up. It's a little difficult. I did a painting of some swallows, oh my gosh, I guess it's a couple of 3 or 4 years ago, with this gouache, and I just couldn't get like I think it was the throat that had to be like really red, and I had to go in and bag it with white. If you have a really transparent color like this in gouache and you need it to stand out and you have to paint on to something else, you might let things dry, put a coat of white on where that red needs to go in this case, and then let that dry and then paint over the transparent color afterwards. You can do that with acrylics too if you have a... So this one is PR 170, and it looks a little crumbly, and if it dries on the palette it crumbles and it's hard to reactivate actually. Once this tube is gone, I'm gonna buy a more like regular magenta. I've heard from others that they have had the same problem with that color. And then the black is an ivory black, and I am not a fan of ivory black, but I actually like this one. It's quite dark. The pigment is PBK9. That's the pigment you usually get when you get an ivory black. So let's see if we can get some of the ultramarine and mix it up with this primary red. So this is a much brighter purple than we got with the primary set from Shinhan, because that red is yellow leaning. It's a warm yellow, whereas this pink is much more violet leaning, blue leaning. So I thought those two would make a good compromise. You'll see the color better as it dries. Let's try and get some of the white in there. So it makes a good pink. It's a little dirty because there's something else underneath on the palette, but definitely more. I quite like the ultramarine, and I can't believe I'm saying that because I'm usually not liking ultramarine a lot. But this one is actually nice. So here we got a mixture of black and ultramarine. We need some dark blues and some bluish grays today, so I figured instead of battling with that purple, it was easier just to add some black to my palette. So Oh, and the yellow got really dirty now. But it reactivates quite okay. Just give it a little time. I'll try and make an orangey color with this. Oh, it's so guggy. Put that next to the other orange. This orange was also a little dirty, so but this is more of a burnt orange because that one is so blue as it is. But it's an acceptable orange. So, yeah, we didn't really change anything else, so that was the swatching I was gonna do. I'll let this dry so you can see them, and then I'll come back in a little bit. Okay, so the colors here are dry, and I'm happy with them. I know this is kind of blotchy, but that's because I didn't really mix the pigments well enough. It's good enough for me to kind of judge the paints. And now to what we're going to paint. So this is a sketch of a blue heron, and I've done it in my sketch pad from Arteza. I got the 80 sheet drawing paper that I waste away on sketches and samples and stuff. So this is fairly thick drawing paper. I don't remember. It's 130 GSM, which is too thin for watercolor, but I have put watercolor on it and it's okay. And it also works okay with gouache. It might boggle a bit, but it's a sketch, and that's just how things go. I need to grab my reference photo so I get something to have the colors from, and of course that is not working out as I had planned. Because I opened up something else on top. But there. We got it here. So yeah, so this is a sketch from a photo that I took a couple of years ago or so. And yeah, my measuring out didn't go so well because actually the photo was not a close-up like this. It actually had a leg, it stood on a leg on a branch and stuff, but my sketch kind of wasn't measured out right. So I'll see if I can fit everything underneath here right. I hope I can paint while dipping my hand in all that paint there. So for painting today, I have picked out the Xargot brushes plus a Cutman flat, a very small flat. It's a size 1 and it's itty bitty, and I'm thinking I need it for the eye and maybe a couple of other things. It is my gouache brushes, so it's not to suck up to Sarah too much, but that is what I'm actually painting with at the moment for gouache. So, picture again after the double check. I need a bluish black, so we take some blue. Wow, that really reactivates well. And I'm just gonna use the paint I have here, and so yeah, it will have a little bit of purple in there, but that is okay. And I got cats, and I've been knitting and crocheting here, so I got something hairy in here. So let's just get started. And I'm just gonna do some rough brush strokes here. Not care too much. The good thing about using gouache for this type of thing is it dries pretty quickly, so it It doesn't stay wet in the same manner as watercolor, so you can actually use it sometimes on some paper that doesn't take watercolor all that well, but it might work with gouache. So it's bluish black down there, and it has a little bit. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the main focus on the head, and the rest is gonna be kind of loose. So the back and the wing feathers is a bluish paler gray. So let's see if adding some white to all that doesn't create kind of a color we can use for that. That's actually quite perfect. Down beside the neck there, and I got my reference photo up because the details of the feathers and stuff is gonna disappear because I added white, so it's quite opaque. Grabbing just some white, and there's blue in my brush because it does go kind of paler down the wing like that. Then I need an even paler version for the face. And because this one was standing in an area of some wilted reeds and stuff, it had actually a background of a nearly ochre, and that means the shadows has like a tint of reddish yellow ochreish thing. I'll just try to get something of this sort. Some more white. That was actually close enough. Need a little more yellow. It's too green. We need some red. Just grab some of that. Close enough. There are some people, when they paint, they are very focused on getting the colors and all the shades just right, especially when they do something sort of realistic like this. And I just can't be bothered. It's not that important. If it's sort of in the range of what you're looking for, that will usually do it, because getting the proportions and the highlights and the shadows is actually the most important thing. And you could paint this entirely in green, for instance, and people would still recognize it as a heron. I'm gonna leave that to dry a little bit. That's sort of wet, so let me try and see if I can fix something for the beak. You can, of course, end up with something that is too red, too something, but unless you ask people to double check your colors with your reference photo, which, by the way, also is biased compared to reality, few's really gonna notice. You have to be quite far off with colors before it's a problem. So okay, so there we go. And I'm actually gonna take this color and put some of it in the background because the beak has some similarity to the colors in the background. I'm not gonna do a background, I'm just gonna kind of indicate that we were in an area with some reeds and some green and yellow. So that grounds it a little bit and not make it kind of floating around in. And I'm gonna go over these feathers a little bit because I'm gonna come in with white. They were catching the sun and were quite opaquely white. We need some more orangey stuff. Yeah, something like that. This is nearly watercolor, so now here it buggles. It doesn't buggle too much where I did the rest. I think I need to let that sit and dry for a bit, so we'll take a quick break. Okay, so it is dry now, and if you have any doubts about when your gouache paint is dry, it's dry to touch when it no longer has any shine anywhere, and is dry to paint over and work with when it doesn't feel cold anymore. I got a bit too much of a puddle of stuff here, so I'm gonna clean up this corner, and I'm just sort of wiping it up with this kitchen towel. Doesn't have to be super clean. It was just pinkish gray was not my color of the day. If you want to paint something with colors that are more clean than what is on your palette, you might need to rinse it. Today is earth tone day, so I just went with what was there. So I want something darker behind the head before I start on that too much. So let's mix up something here that has some different colors in it. It should end up brownish. Yep. I'm just gonna, because this is a sketch and a sketch painting, I'm not going into a ton of avoidance. The paper is also making brush strokes visible and stuff, so that's okay. Might also be able to fix that thing with the beak there at the end. There's a red thing there. There's plenty of blue. A bit more water. Grab some. And again, I don't really bother that this color is not exactly as the color I mixed before. They're not exactly the same. It just lends to the interest of the whole thing that it's not uniform. There might be other times where I paint something more stylized, where I like a flat background, and gouache is good for that, but I'll probably use a different type of gouache, more of a poster paint type of gouache for that. Probably have to let it dry again after this. That's okay. It doesn't take any time for you guys, it's just a cut. It's more on my end that drying time is a thing. But then I can go change my cup of tea and things like that. Say hi to the kitties. I don't see it as a negative that things are so dry. So is there anything I can do? I could actually paint a bit over there. Maybe add a bit more darkness over here. So what I was saying before about not being too accurate about the colors, unless you show people your actual reference photos like nearly side by side, nobody's gonna know how much off your colors really are. As long as you kind of hit it. Of course, I could have used a baby blue for the blue gray and stuff, and that would not have looked right. But I have a grayish blue there, and that's good enough. And for the beak, it's like an ochreish kind of yellow. So don't stress out too much about getting the colors exactly right. I will sometimes even change some things or exaggerate some stuff. Like here, that background on the photo is not this dark, but I make it this dark to make the heron come forward a bit more. And that's my artistic license. I don't really want to make an exact copy of the photo. I would just publish the photo and say, hey, I took a photo of a heron. But paintings that's where you can play around and say, okay, instead of edit this photo, I can add or subtract stuff to it to make it quote unquote better or different, make it more like I'd say maybe not better, but sometimes more interesting, or you can put the emphasis where you want it. It's like, look at the face, or you can skip something if, like in a landscape picture, if there's a car or a truck or even an ugly building or something that you don't really want on your picture. Of course, these days photo editing is a big thing where you can really edit things out, but you can also just omit it in a painting. And this thing about taking a artistic license and do change your version of the events and stuff is why you can make it interesting. And this was actually one of the places where I got bored with realism, was that I felt like a poor copy machine. It's like I'm just copying either other people's photos or my own photos, and that's just simply not interesting. There's a little clump of yellow I can move over here to make oranges and stuff with. So yeah, I don't know if we can get it to shine. You can see the back end of that is not dry, and I can actually, because this is thin paper, I can put my hand on the back side. I can get a really good feeling of where things are kind of wet, because it feels cold in those areas. So another drying time. Okay, drying time has another benefit, and that is that you might have an extra look at that. And right now it looks too much like this one is being roasted over orangey flames. So The good thing is we can just paint that over. I'm gonna try and activate some of all that violet we had here from last time that I never used. So all that dark. Pick up some more blue. Mix it in. Add some black. Try not to activate that red clump there too much. We just paint over it. I should actually get a bigger brush. Because I got one. And because this is too wet, I now activated the pigment underneath, so that blends into, but that's fine. So you might have heard people explain the concentration of gouache in tea, milk, and cream and stuff, and I can't help you there. I don't get that. I never got it. It's probably a really good explanation, but yeah, I don't use that terminology. I don't think about it too much. I think about it in maybe thin layers and concentration instead, but whatever works for whoever, please use it if that is helpful to you. But I have sometimes had people go, oh, so did you do the background in this and that milk or tea or whatever, mixed in water. So just so you know, it's not my thing to think about it too much. Close to the beak there, and at the bottom it has a beard that I don't really want to paint over, so yeah, that gave it some more uniformity. I think I should find maybe some music because I'm not sure. I got so much to say while I'm adding details. I'll put the palette so you can kind of see what I'm mixing up. It's just gonna be really making things for details now. That looks kind of scary. Hairdryer is your best friend sometimes, especially a cheap, super hot one. So, I don't really want to do too much more. Um, Maybe a couple of adjustments, but really not a lot. Like, there's that shoulder patch there that needs to be a bit more black. Turned out too blue when it dried. But it's kind of a loose thing, and remember this was a sketch and just a kind of a tryout. So it's important to sometimes do something that where it's not too important. And I have not painted animals for quite a long time, not to this degree. And I want to paint animals, but I don't want to paint in the manner that I used to paint, where it was like push myself too far in terms of how realistic it should be and with too much detail. So I'm trying to find my way again. And a loose sketch like this it's a good way to do that. Am I 100% happy with this? No, not quite. But I'm not unhappy with it either. I mean, this is more of what I want to do than what I used to do. So, and I've learned not to be too hard on myself. And again, it's a sketch. It's not a finished piece. But I'm okay with it. And maybe next time I do it, it will be more to my liking. If you paint something you don't like too much, think about what you don't like about it. And then maybe stop trying to fix something that ain't good. Save it, and then go again. Maybe keep what you did, quote unquote, wrong, close at hand, so you can go, oh yeah, that was what I didn't want to do, so here's a different approach to that part. If you have a sketch you really like, scan it, print it, paint that. If you don't like the painting, print it out again and paint that again, or copy it down on your painting paper or a canvas. Oh, I forgot one thing. I have links now down below to the materials I have used. Not the pad, but the paints. It's from Jackson's. It's an affiliate link. It's 2 affiliate links actually. And that means if you use my link and buy something there, I get a small commission. It doesn't cost you extra. If you're a first time customer at Jackson's, you get a 10% rebate. The Winsor and Newton is not shipped outside the UK and Europe, but if you're here, they're a good source of paint. Take care.